The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly around the cargo ship Wayfinder. Inside, the crew of 5 was busy with their usual tasks, transporting supplies from one colony to another. It was supposed to be an ordinary journey until a strange signal appeared on their radar. Tom, the ship's captain, frowned as he examined the blinking red light on the control panel. "That's a distress signal," he said, his voice calm but serious. "From where?" asked Leo, the ship's engineer, adjusting his thick glasses. "There are no colonies or stations in this sector." Tom tapped a few buttons, bringing up a holographic map. "It's coming from that planet." He pointed to a small, unknown world orbiting a dying star. Mia, the navigator, hesitated. "That place isn't on any charts. Could be dangerous." Tom nodded. "Maybe. But if someone's in trouble, we can't ignore them." The crew exchanged glances. They had encountered distress signals before. Sometimes they were real, sometimes they were traps. But leaving someone to die wasn't an option. "All right," Tom decided. "Let's check it out." As the Wayfinder entered the planet's atmosphere, the crew prepared for landing. The scanners showed no signs of cities, ships, or life, just ruins and an eerie silence. Leo whistled. "Place looks abandoned." Mia nodded. "Feels dead." The ship landed gently on the rocky surface. Outside, the land was dry and cracked, with ancient stone structures crumbling under the weight of time. A strange energy lingered in the air, making their skin tingle. Tom and his team stepped out, wearing lightweight spacesuits. The sun was weak, casting long shadows over the ruins. The signal had led them here, but there was no sign of life. "Split up," Tom instructed. "Stay close and report if you find anything." As they searched the ruins, the silence became unsettling. The place looked like it had once been a city, but now it was only dust and broken walls. Then a sound, a weak, trembling voice carried by the wind. "Help me." Tom's heart pounded. He turned sharply, his flashlight sweeping over the ruins. "Did you hear that?" Leo and Mia nodded, their faces tense. The voice came again, barely above a whisper. "Please, I must feed. Can you satisfy me?" Tom followed the sound, leading the crew deeper into the ruins. At last, they found her. A figure lay collapsed against a stone pillar. A woman, but not human. Her skin was pale, almost glowing, and her long silver hair draped over her frail body. She wore a tattered dark robe, and her large eyes, filled with desperation, locked onto Tom. Tom knelt beside her. "Who are you?" She struggled to speak, her voice hoarse. "Zyra." Her breathing was shallow. "Please, help." Tom glanced at Leo and Mia. "She's weak. We need to get her back to the ship." As they carefully lifted her, Zyra's trembling fingers clutched Tom's arm. Her touch was ice cold. Her lips parted again as she whispered, "I must feed." A chill ran down Tom's spine. "Feed? On what?" Mia looked uneasy. "Tom, what if she's dangerous?" Tom met Zyra's desperate gaze. She was starving, suffering. Whatever she meant by feed, she didn't seem like a threat, at least, not yet. "We help her first," Tom said firmly. "Then we ask questions." As they carried Zyra back to the Wayfinder, none of them noticed the shadows shifting in the ruins behind them. Something else was watching. Something hungry. The Wayfinder's doors sealed shut with a quiet hiss as Tom and his crew carried Zyra inside. The cargo ship wasn't designed for medical emergencies, but they had a small infirmary. Tom gently laid Zyra on the examination bed while Leo and Mia hovered nearby, exchanging uncertain glances. Zyra's breathing was shallow, her body trembling with weakness. Her pale skin seemed almost translucent under the ship's lights. Tom kneeled beside her, speaking softly. "Zyra, can you hear me?" Her large silver eyes fluttered open, locking onto his with an intensity that made him uneasy. "You brought me here," she whispered. Tom nodded. You needed help. Zara's lips parted slightly, and for a moment, she simply stared at him. Then she whispered the same words she had said before. I must feed. Can you satisfy me? Mia stepped back. Tom, I don't like this. Leo frowned, adjusting his glasses. Feed on what? She doesn't look like she eats normal food. Tom hesitated. He could see the desperation in Zara's eyes. He didn't know what she meant, but she was weak. Too weak to be a threat. What do you need to survive? He asked carefully. Zara swallowed hard, as if struggling to speak. Life. Energy. A heavy silence filled the room. Maya stiffened. You mean, like stealing our life? Zara's eyes widened in alarm. No, not stealing. She shook her head weakly. My kind, we do not eat solid food. We absorb energy, shared willingly. Tom studied her. And if you don't get energy? Zara's gaze dropped. I fade away. Leo scratched his head. So, you just need a little energy. Zara nodded weakly. A small amount can help, but only if given freely. Mia looked doubtful. How do we know this won't hurt us? Zara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she slowly raised a trembling hand. I can show you. Tom hesitated. Something inside him told him this was a risk. But another part of him, his instinct, told him Zara wasn't lying. All right, he said finally. I'll do it. Mia gasped. Tom, wait. It's okay. Tom gave her a reassuring nod. I won't let her take too much. He turned back to Zara. Tell me what to do. Zara's fingers trembled as she reached for his hand. Just touch. Tom hesitated for only a second before placing his palm against hers. The moment their skin touched, a warmth spread through his body. It wasn't painful. In fact, it felt strangely comforting, like a soft glow moving through his veins. Zara gasped. A faint silver light flickered around her body, as if she were absorbing the energy. Slowly, her breathing steadied. Her skin, once dull and lifeless, regained a faint glow. Tom felt a slight weakness, as if he had just run up a flight of stairs, but nothing more. When he pulled his hand away, Zara's eyes were shining, no longer clouded with exhaustion. You are different, she whispered, staring at him with something like wonder. Tom flexed his fingers. He still felt normal. Did that help? Zara nodded. Yes, more than I expected. Mia and Leo exchanged glances. Leo adjusted his glasses. Well, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Mia sighed. I still don't trust this. What if she needs more? A lot more. Zara lowered her gaze. I will not take more than what is offered. Tom studied her. He had taken many risks in his life. But this was different. Zara wasn't just a survivor. She was something new, something unknown. And yet he couldn't shake the feeling that helping her was the right thing to do. All right, he said finally. You can stay with us for now. But we need to know everything about you. No secrets. Zara met his gaze. I promise. Before anyone could say more, a loud thud echoed through the ship's walls. Leo spun toward the door. What was that? Mia's eyes widened. Something's outside. Tom's stomach tightened. They weren't alone on this planet. A deep, echoing thud vibrated through the ship's walls. Tom's muscles tensed. He exchanged a sharp look with Mia and Leo. Did the scanners pick up anything outside? Leo hurried to the control panel, fingers flying over the screen. His face paled. I don't know how, but something is out there. Mia tightened her grip on her plasma tool, glancing at Zara. Is it one of your kind? Zara shook her head slowly, her silver eyes dark with worry. No, if something is here, it is not friendly. Another thud. This time, it came from above, as if something was crawling over the ship's hull. Tom's instincts screamed danger. They had come to this planet only to help, but now They were trapped inside with an unknown threat lurking outside. He couldn't afford to panic. "We don't know what we're dealing with," Tom said, keeping his voice steady. "First, we secure the ship, lock all doors. Mia, keep an eye on the outer cameras." Mia nodded and rushed to the screen. "I don't see anything." "Wait." Her breath hitched. "I think it's moving too fast for the cameras to track." Leo muttered, "Great. That's not terrifying at all." Tom turned to Zira. "What else is on this planet?" Zira hesitated, then spoke in a whisper. "Creatures of shadow. They feed on life energy, but not like me." Tom frowned. "What do you mean?" Zira's gaze dropped. "I take only what is given freely. But those creatures, they steal energy. They drain life until nothing is left." Leo paled. "Like vampires." Zira nodded. "They are why my people are gone." Mia sucked in a breath. "And now, they know we're here." A sudden, scraping sound came from the side of the ship, a slow, deliberate noise, like claws dragging across metal. Tom clenched his fists. "If they feed on life energy, does that mean they'll come for Zira first?" Zira shook her head. "No, they will come for all of you." Silence filled the room. Tom exhaled slowly, forcing himself to stay calm. "All right, we need a plan." Leo swallowed. "We could just take off, right?" Mia checked the controls. "Engines are still warming up. We need time." Another thud, this time near the airlock. Zira's fingers tightened around the edges of the infirmary bed. Her breathing was still shallow, but she had gained some strength after absorbing Tom's energy. She looked at him, a new determination in her gaze. "I can help." Tom frowned. "How?" Zira hesitated, then held out her hands. "I still have little energy, but if I take a bit more, I can create a barrier around the ship. It won't last long, but it will keep them away." Mia crossed her arms. "How much more energy do you need?" Zira met Tom's gaze. "From you, just a little." Leo gave Tom a doubtful look. "Are you sure about this?" Tom wasn't sure. But Zira had been honest so far. If those creatures were truly hunting them, they needed every advantage. He nodded. "All right, do it." Zira reached for his hand again. The moment their skin touched, a warm, pulsing energy flowed between them. Tom gasped slightly, not in pain, but in surprise. It felt different this time, stronger. Zira's silver eyes glowed faintly as the energy spread through her. She took a deep breath, then lifted her hands toward the ceiling. A soft hum filled the air, and then a barrier of shimmering light spread around the ship. Outside, the scraping stopped. The thuds went silent. Mia checked the cameras. "They're backing away." Leo whistled. "It's actually working." Zira exhaled, her shoulders shaking. "Not for long. We must leave before they break through." Tom didn't need to be told twice. "Mia, get those engines ready. Leo, prepare for launch." As the crew rushed to work, Tom glanced at Zira. She was exhausted but still watching him with quiet curiosity. "You okay?" he asked. Zira nodded. "You are different, Tom." Tom raised an eyebrow. "Different how?" Zira's lips parted slightly. "Your energy. It is not just life. It is something else. Something more." Before Tom could ask what she meant, the ship's alarms blared. Mia shouted, "They're coming back, and they're angry." Tom clenched his jaw. It was time to get off this planet. The Wayfinder shuddered as the creatures outside grew restless. The barrier Zira had created flickered, struggling to hold them back. Tom could feel the tension in the air as Mia worked frantically at the controls. "Engines are almost ready," she called out. "Just a little longer." Outside, the creatures hissed. The shadows moved unnaturally, slithering across the rocky ground. Their glowing red eyes peered through the ship's cameras, filled with hunger. Leo gritted his teeth. I don't like this. They're waiting for something. Tom kept his gaze on the monitors. The creatures weren't attacking, not yet, but their patience wouldn't last forever. He turned to Zira. She sat on the infirmary bed, her body still weak, but her silver eyes alert. "Can you make the barrier stronger?" he asked. Zira shook her head. "I do not have enough energy." Tom hesitated, then held out his hand. "Take more from me." Mia gasped. "Tom, you don't know what will happen if you give too much." Tom met her gaze. "We don't have a choice. If this barrier fails, we're all dead." Zira looked at him with uncertainty. "Are you sure?" Tom nodded. "Just take what you need." Slowly, Zira placed her hand over his. At once, a warm energy surged between them. It was stronger this time, more intense. Tom's breath hitched as he felt his energy flowing into her, but something was different. For a brief moment, he could see, not with his eyes, but with something deeper. A vision flashed in his mind. A world filled with Zira's people, their glowing bodies floating in the air, sharing energy freely. Laughter, peace, a great light that connected them all. Then, darkness. The same creatures that surrounded the ship now had attacked. Zira's people had fought, but one by one, they had fallen. Their energy stolen, their bodies left as empty husks. And then, Zira, alone, trapped, starving, waiting for someone, anyone, to come. Tom gasped as the vision faded. He pulled back, his heart pounding. Zira stared at him, her silver eyes wide with shock. "You saw," she whispered. Tom nodded slowly. "I saw everything." Leo and Mia looked between them in confusion. "Saw what?" Maya asked. Tom exhaled. Her past, her people, they were wiped out by those things. Leo shuddered. "That's horrible." Zira lowered her gaze. "I am the last." A heavy silence filled the room. Then the ship lurched. "The barrier is breaking," Mia yelled. Tom turned to Zira. "Now's your chance. Strengthen it." Zira closed her eyes. The energy she had absorbed from Tom flared around her, sending a pulse of silver light through the ship. Outside, the creatures let out an ear-piercing screech as the light expanded, pushing them back. Leo cheered. "It's working." But then, a new sound. A deep guttural growl echoed across the ruins. The creatures stopped retreating. Instead, they turned their heads toward the shadows. Zira's face paled. "No, he is here." Tom frowned. "Who?" Zira swallowed. "The one that leads them. The one that destroyed my world." The ground trembled as something huge moved in the darkness. Two massive, glowing red eyes appeared, staring directly at the ship. Mia's fingers flew over the controls. "Engines are ready. We can take off now." Tom didn't hesitate. "Do it." The Wayfinder rumbled as it lifted off the ground. Outside, the massive figure lurched forward, its shadowy tendrils reaching for them. But Zira raised her hands one last time. A final pulse of energy erupted from her, forcing the creature back just enough for the ship to escape. The Wayfinder blasted through the atmosphere, leaving the cursed planet behind. As they reached the safety of space, the crew let out a collective breath. "We made it," Leo said, sinking into a chair. Mia wiped sweat from her forehead. "That was too close." Tom turned to Zira. She was exhausted, her body trembling, but she still held his gaze, something new in her eyes. Gratitude, trust, and something deeper. "You saved us," Tom said quietly. Zira shook her head. "You saved me first." A small, tired smile crossed her lips. "And now, I owe you more than just my life." Tom didn't know what she meant, but somehow he knew this was only the beginning. The Wayfinder drifted through the quiet expanse of space, leaving the cursed planet and its terrifying creatures behind. Inside the ship, the crew sat in silence, catching their breath after the narrow escape. Tom glanced at Zira. She was leaning against the infirmary bed, her body still weak, but her silver eyes alert. He could still feel the strange warmth from when she had taken his energy. It was unlike anything he had ever experienced, almost as if, for a moment, they had become connected. Mia broke the silence. "All right. Someone explain what just happened back there. What was that thing?" Zira sighed. "It was the leader of the shadow creatures. My people call him Vorith. He is not like the others. He is ancient, powerful." Leo frowned. "And he wanted us to." Zira nodded. "He does not just feed on life energy. He absorbs knowledge, memories, even emotions. The more he takes, the stronger he becomes." Mia shuddered. "That's disturbing." Tom crossed his arms. "You said he destroyed your people. If he's still out there, does that mean he's after you?" Zira looked down. "Yes." The room went silent again. Leo sighed. "Great. So now we have an ancient energy-eating monster hunting us through space. Fantastic." Tom ignored Leo's sarcasm and focused on Zira. "If Vorith is after you, then what do we do next?" Zira hesitated. "I do not know. I have been running for so long. I never had a plan." Tom studied her. She had survived alone for years, starving, afraid, waiting for someone to help. And now she was here, on his ship, depending on them. He made a decision. "Then we'll protect you," he said firmly. Zira's eyes widened. "You would do that?" Tom nodded. "We're not leaving you to face this alone." Leo groaned. "Tom, are you serious? This is way bigger than us." Tom turned to him. "Leo, we just saw what Vorith can do. He won't stop. If we leave Zira alone, he'll find her again. And who knows what he'll do next." Mia sighed. "Tom's right. We can't just abandon her." Leo rubbed his forehead. "I hate when you guys make sense." Tom looked back at Zira. "We'll figure something out. Together." Zira stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Thank you." For the first time, Tom saw something new in her eyes. Hope. But before he could say anything else, an alarm blared across the ship. Mia spun to the control panel. Guys, we have a problem." Tom rushed to her side. "What now?" Mia pointed to the screen. "A ship is approaching. Fast." Leo checked the readings. No distress signal. No ID. It's just coming straight at us. Zira's face turned pale. Vorith's followers. Tom clenched his jaw. "Looks like we didn't escape as cleanly as we thought." Mia's fingers flew over the controls. "They'll reach us in less than 2 minutes." Leo cursed. "We're not in a warship. We can't fight them." Tom took a deep breath, thinking fast. "We're not fighting," he said. "We're outsmarting them." Zira looked at him. "How?" Tom turned to Mia. "Can you mask our energy signature?" Mia frowned. "I can try, but it won't last long." "Do it." Tom turned to Leo. "And you, find us the closest asteroid field." Leo's hands flew across the navigation panel. "Found one. About 20 seconds away." Tom grinned. "Perfect. We're going to hide." The Wayfinder lurched forward, speeding toward the asteroid field as Mia activated the energy masking system. Within seconds, the enemy ship vanished from their radar. Leo stared at the screen. Did it work? Mia exhaled. "For now." Tom turned to Zira. "They'll keep looking for us. We need a real plan." Zira nodded. "Then, I must tell you everything." Tom raised an eyebrow. "Everything?" Zira met his gaze. "Yes. The truth about my kind. The truth about Vorith. And why you might be the only one who can stop him." Tom stiffened. "Me?" Zira nodded. "Yes, you are not like the others, Tom. Your energy is different." Tom felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was bigger than he had ever imagined. The Wayfinder floated in the shadows of a massive asteroid, hidden from the enemy ship. The crew remained silent, their eyes fixed on the monitors, waiting for any sign of movement. Minutes passed. Then Mia let out a breath. They're gone. For now. Leo slumped back in his chair. That was way too close. Tom, however, was still focused on Zira. Her words echoed in his mind. You might be the only one who can stop him. He crossed his arms. All right, Zira, start talking. What did you mean when you said I was different? Zira hesitated. Her silver eyes flickered with uncertainty, but then she took a deep breath and spoke. My people, we do not just take energy. We can also sense it. Every living being has a unique energy signature. But you, Tom, your energy is unlike anything I have ever felt. Tom frowned. How? Zara looked at him carefully. It is not just life energy. It is powerful, deep, almost like my own kind, but different, stronger. Mia raised an eyebrow. Are you saying Tom is part alien? Tom scoffed. That's ridiculous. But Zara shook her head. Not alien, but connected. Leo rubbed his temples. This is getting weird. Zira continued. Vorath hunts me because he wants my energy. If he takes it, he will become unstoppable. But if he finds out about you, Tom, he may come for you instead. Tom clenched his jaw. He didn't want to believe it, but something in Zira's voice told him she was telling the truth. Mia tapped a few buttons on her scanner. Okay, so if Tom's energy is special, can we measure it? The screen beeped, displaying Tom's energy signature. Mia's eyes widened. Whoa. Leo leaned over. What? What is it? Mia pointed at the readings. His energy levels are off the charts. That's not normal for a human. Tom stared at the screen. A cold feeling settled in his chest. What does this mean? He asked quietly. Zara's voice was soft but certain. It means you are more than you think, Tom. And if we want to stop Vorath, we must find out why. Tom exhaled. Great, so how do we do that? Zara hesitated. Then she said, we must go to a place my people once called home. A temple, hidden deep in space. There, we may find answers. Leo groaned. Of course it's a temple. It's always a temple. Mia checked the star maps. Do you know where it is? Zira nodded. I remember the coordinates. Tom thought for a moment. Every part of him screamed that this was crazy. But after everything they had seen, shadow creatures, energy draining, and now his own strange power, he couldn't just ignore it. All right, he said. We go to the temple. Leo sighed. Guess we're doing this. Mia set the course. Coordinates locked in. It'll take a few hours to get there. Tom nodded and turned to Zira. You should rest. You used a lot of energy back there. Zira hesitated, then gave him a small smile. I will try. As she left for the infirmary, Tom stayed behind, staring at the empty screen. Leo clapped a hand on his shoulder. You okay, man? Tom let out a slow breath. I don't know. Mia leaned against the control panel. Look, whatever this is, we've got your back. Tom gave a small smile. Thanks. But deep down, a feeling of unease grew inside him. Who, or what, was he really? And more importantly, would he be ready for the truth? The Wayfinder sped through space, following the ancient coordinates Zira had provided. The journey was long, and the tension inside the ship was growing. Tom sat in the cockpit, staring at the stars, lost in thought. What was he? Zira had said his energy was different, stronger, almost like hers. But Tom was human. He had always been human. Right? A soft voice broke his thoughts. You are worried. Tom turned to see Zira standing behind him. Her silver eyes held a quiet understanding. He sighed. Can you blame me? 1 minute, I'm just a normal guy. The next, I'm some kind of Energy anomaly. Zira stepped closer. I understand how you feel. I, too, once questioned who I was. Tom studied her. She had been alone for years, running, hiding. Now she was trusting him, depending on him. He nodded. I guess we both have a lot to figure out. Before Zira could respond, Mia's voice crackled through the speaker. Guys, we're here. Tom and Zira hurried to the cockpit. Outside, floating in the middle of deep space, was a massive ancient structure. The temple was built from dark stone, glowing with faint blue energy. Strange symbols covered its surface, shifting as if they were alive. It looked old, far older than any human civilization. Leo let out a low whistle. Well, that's creepy. Zira's eyes widened. It is still here. Mia checked the scanners. Atmosphere inside is stable. No life signs detected. Tom tightened his grip on the controls. Let's hope it stays that way. He guided the ship toward the entrance, docking carefully. The airlock hissed as it connected to the temple's outer doors. Leo grabbed his blaster, just in case. Mia rolled her eyes. You think a gun is gonna help against an energy monster? Leo shrugged. Makes me feel better. Tom took a deep breath. Let's move. The inside of the temple was silent. Blue energy pulsed through the walls, lighting the ancient halls. The air was thick with dust, untouched for centuries. Zara led the way, her hands brushing against the glowing symbols. This place, it was once a sanctuary for my people. A place of knowledge. Tom looked around. So, where do we find answers? Zira pointed ahead. The core chamber. It will reveal the truth. They walked deeper inside, their footsteps echoing through the vast corridors. Then, a whisper. Tom froze. Did you hear that? Mia tensed. Yeah. And I really don't like it. The whisper grew louder. The symbols on the walls shifted, forming new patterns. Then, suddenly, a beam of blue light shot down from the ceiling. Tom barely had time to react before the light surrounded him. His body froze in place. Tom, Zira shouted. A deep voice filled the chamber. You have returned, child of light. Tom's breath caught in his throat. What's happening? Zira's eyes widened. It recognizes you. The blue light lifted Tom off the ground. Memories, not his own, rushed into his mind. He saw beams of energy, glowing like stars, guiding civilizations across the galaxy. They were not conquerors nor gods, but guardians. And then, darkness. Voreth, the shadow creature, had once been one of them, but he had turned against his kind, consuming their energy, becoming something monstrous. The guardians tried to stop him. They sacrificed everything. But one last spark of their power remained, hidden, passed down. Tom gasped as the realization hit him. The energy inside him was their last gift. The blue light faded, lowering him gently to the ground. Zira rushed to his side. Tom, are you all right? Tom's hands trembled. He could still feel the knowledge inside him. The truth. I know now, he whispered. I know why Voreth wants me. Leo stepped forward. Care to explain? Tom turned to them, his voice steady. I'm the last piece of power that can stop him. Silence filled the chamber. Then Mia muttered, Oh, that's a lot. Zira's expression was unreadable. Then the battle is not just mine anymore. Tom met her gaze. No, it never was. Before anyone could say more, the temple shook violently. Mia checked her scanner. Oh no, we've got company. Leo groaned. Let me guess. Shadow monsters. Mia's face was pale. Worse. Tom clenched his fists. Voreth had found them. And now, there was no turning back. The ancient temple shook violently, dust falling from the high ceiling. The blue energy flowing through the walls flickered, as if sensing the danger approaching. Tom, Zira, Mia, and Leo barely had time to process what had just happened before Mia's scanner beeped loudly. "They're here," she said, voice tense. Leo gripped his blaster. "Shadow monsters." Mia swallowed hard. "No. Him." Tom felt a cold chill crawl up his spine. He didn't need a scanner to know Voreth had arrived. The air itself seemed to darken, as if the shadows were alive. Zira took a step back, her silver eyes wide with fear. "He found us. We do not have much time." Tom clenched his fists. The knowledge the temple had given him was still fresh in his mind. He was the last spark of an ancient power, the only force left that could stand against Voreth. But how? He had no idea how to use the energy inside him. A deep, bone-chilling voice echoed through the temple. "At last, I have found you." A massive tear in reality split open before them, a swirling void of blackness. From it, Voreth emerged. He was even more terrifying up close, a towering figure of shifting shadows, his form constantly changing. His eyes, if they could be called that, were endless pits of darkness. The air around him hummed with unnatural power. Leo stumbled back. "Nope. Nope. I vote we run." Maya tightened her grip on her scanner. "Where?" "He's blocking the way out." Zura's voice trembled. "Tom, he is here for you." Voreth's gaze locked onto Tom. "Give yourself to me, child of light." Tom felt something pull at his very soul. Voreth's power was like an endless void, trying to consume him. He gritted his teeth. No, he wouldn't let this thing win. "Not happening," Tom growled. Voreth laughed, a terrible sound that echoed through the temple. "You do not understand what you are. You do not understand what you hold." Tom narrowed his eyes. "Then maybe you should enlighten me." Voreth's shadowy form pulsed. "You are a mistake, a remnant of a dead race that tried to defy me. They failed. And so will you." Tom felt his heart pound in his chest. The ancient beings, the guardians, had given him their last spark of power. But it wasn't enough just to have it. He needed to use it. But how? Zira stepped forward. "Tom, your energy. Focus on it." Tom hesitated. "I don't know how." Voreth lunged forward, moving like liquid darkness. "Then you die." Tom barely had time to react before Voreth's shadows lashed out at him. He raised his arms instinctively. And then, light exploded from his body. A blinding flash of blue-white energy surged outward, slamming into Voreth. The shadow creature roared, recoiling from the sudden force. Tom gasped, stumbling back. His hands were glowing, the same blue energy that flowed through the temple now pulsing inside him. Leo's jaw dropped. Okay, that was new. Mia's eyes widened. "Tom, you just hit him." Zura's expression turned from fear to hope. "You can fight him." Tom clenched his fists, staring at the power now coursing through his veins. For the first time, he didn't feel afraid. He felt ready. Voreth's form flickered, the shadows around him shifting angrily. "You cannot stop me. You are nothing but a flickering flame, waiting to be snuffed out." Tom took a step forward. "Funny," he said, "because I'm just getting started." The temple walls hummed, as if responding to his energy. The final battle had begun. The temple shook with raw energy. The air crackled as Tom's glowing hands pulsed with blue-white light. Across from him, Voreth's shadowy form twisted in rage. "You are nothing." Voreth's voice rumbled like thunder. "I will consume you, as I have consumed all before you." Tom didn't back down. For the first time, he felt the power inside him, not just as something strange, but as a part of him, a gift left behind by the Guardians. And he would not let Voreth take it. Zira, Mia, and Leo stood behind him, watching in tense silence. They knew this battle was Tom's alone. Voreth struck first. The shadow creature lunged, sending a wave of pure darkness toward Tom. The temple walls dimmed, the very air growing cold. Tom reacted on instinct. He raised his hands, and the blue-white energy surged outward, forming a barrier of light. The shadows clashed against it, twisting and screeching. The force of impact sent shockwaves through the temple. Leo shielded his eyes. Okay, that's insane. Mia's voice was full of awe. He's holding him back. Zira whispered, not just holding him back. He is matching him. Tom gritted his teeth. He could feel Voreth's power pressing against him. Cold, consuming, endless. It wanted to pull him into the abyss. No, he wouldn't let it. With a shout, Tom pushed forward. The blue-white energy exploded outward, forcing Voreth back. The shadow creature screeched, his form flickering. For the first time, Voreth looked weaker. His voice was full of fury. Impossible. Tom's breathing was heavy, but he felt something deep inside. Understanding. This power wasn't just about fighting. It was about restoring what had been lost. He took a step forward, his energy glowing brighter. You feed on fear, Voreth. Tom's voice was steady. But I'm not afraid of you anymore. Voreth roared in anger and sent another wave of darkness. This time, Tom didn't block it. He absorbed it. The shadows hid his body, but instead of consuming him, they dissolved into light. The temple walls brightened, their ancient energy responding to him. Zira gasped. He is restoring balance. Voreth's form shrank, flickering like a dying flame. His power was fading. He lashed out one last time. But Tom raised his hands, and a final burst of pure energy shot from his body, engulfing Voreth completely. The shadow creature let out a final, terrible scream. And then he was gone. The temple fell silent. The air felt lighter. The darkness that had filled the ancient halls had vanished. The glowing symbols on the walls shined brighter than ever before. Tom stood in the center of it all, his body still humming with energy. But he felt at peace. The battle was over. Leo let out a shaky breath. Okay. Is it over? Mia scanned the area. No signs of Voreth. No more shadow creatures. Zira stepped forward, looking at Tom with deep respect. You did it. Tom turned to her, a small smile on his lips. Not just me. All of us. Leo smirked. Well, mostly you. Mia nodded. Yeah, you were kinda amazing. Tom chuckled. I guess I got lucky. Zira shook her head. No, not luck. Destiny. She looked around the temple, then back at him. The Guardian's last gift. It lives on in you. Tom let out a slow breath. He still didn't fully understand everything, but one thing was clear. He had a purpose now. The temple walls pulsed one last time, as if saying goodbye. Mia clapped her hands together. All right. So how about we get out of here before another ancient evil shows up? Leo groaned. Please, no more ancient evils. Tom laughed. Agreed. Let's go home. Zira hesitated. And where is home? Tom met her gaze. Wherever we want it to be. With that, they turned back toward the Wayfinder, leaving the temple behind. The battle was over. But their adventure was just beginning. The end.